So if I walked into your business today and asked you, what's the biggest problem in growing your business? Most business owners might say, I need more leads, I need more sales, I need more customers, and maybe not. But after working with med spas, restaurants, local contractors, local businesses, HVAC companies, roofing companies, one thing that I've noticed is that growth in a business, growth to revenue, can be traced back to one of three numbers. It's not 50, it's not 20, it's not 10. It's just three simple numbers, three simple metrics that we need to look at to see, identify what are the bottlenecks, what's preventing growth, where are we at in the process, where are we in the stage, which areas do we need to focus on. And it comes down to these three key areas, these key metrics that is going to determine the revenue growth of your business. Because if your business isn't growing, is because one of these three numbers is broken. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to identify where your business is losing money and what you need to do about it. Because revenue isn't random, revenue is math. So what are these three metrics I want you to focus on to help you grow the revenue growth of your business? Because most business owners just focus on the top line, which the majority should. They just focus on revenue, 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 revenue. But revenue is not the problem. Revenue is the result, is the outcome, is the scoreboard. The real question that we need to ask ourselves is how many opportunities are entering the business? How many of those opportunities are actually showing up, either for their appointment, for their consultation, for their treatment, for an estimate, you name it, whatever your business is. And of those that are showing up, how many of those are becoming customers? Because revenue is simply this business equation. It's leads times the show up rate times the closing rate. And that's your business growth equation. Everything else is just simply a symptom. If you go ahead and look back at the three things you got to focus on your business is leads, appointments, and conversions. Those are the three metrics we got to focus in on because we know if we focus on these three things, that's where the equation comes to place. Because we need leads, how many leads we're getting per month, what is our show up rate, meaning how many appointments are we actually setting, but actually getting them to show up. And then your closing rate, that's your conversions, is how many of those are actually converting once you get them into the door, or once you get them into your office, or once you go to their house, whatever it is, that you want to put yourself in the situation. Because let's start with number one. Let's start with leads. The first job of marketing and advertising is simple, is to generate opportunities. Because if you have no leads, if you have no appointments, you can't have any sales. If you have no sales, that means you've got no business because your business isn't growing. It's slowly declining and on a downtrend. Because this is where you have to invest into marketing, into advertising, into content, into being seen, being found, being active online. This is where different services, whether you're investing into SEO, Google ads, meta ads, you're doing content, you're relying on referrals, you're doing networking events. If you have email marketing going, direct mail, door hangers, cold outreach, all of these different channels in which you can use to grow your business in order to generate leads for your business. All of them play a role, and the business that creates the most opportunity often wins. Because if we don't have opportunities, if we don't have leads coming into the pipeline, we don't have deals that we're working, we don't have leads that we're working, then obviously we have no opportunities for growth in our business. So whether you're a med spa looking for more consultations, whether you're a dental practice looking for more implants or more exams, whether you're a roofing company looking to get more estimates and more inspections, if you're a restaurant owner looking to get more reservations, the name of the game is that everything begins with lead generation. Because if you have no pipeline, it means you have no growth. So when we're talking about what are the three metrics that we look at in order to drive revenue and growth to the business, the first step we look at is leads. How many leads are we generating per month? Okay, then we want to generate leads. Okay, then what services, what activities, what system do we have in order to generate leads? Generate traffic, to generate, interest, to get attention. How do we capture intent? How do we create attention? Is our content that we're working on, that we're producing, is that bringing inbound leads? Is that getting us awareness? Is that getting us attention online? Because then you got to have to, you want leads, but you got to find out, okay, what are you guys doing in order to get leads? Are you just doing community events, networking events? Are you just relying on referrals? Are you doing those are what I call like passive marketing? Are you doing active marketing? Are you doing running Google ads, Meta ads, TikTok ads, YouTube ads? Are you posting content on a regular basis on all the various social media platforms? Because if that starting off isn't generating any type of good, not just good, but any quality lead for you, then you kind of have to first start there is, okay, we got to go back to the marketing strategy. What exactly are we going to focus on? What's our messaging? What's our offer? What are we doing to drive up the lead count? Because all the different activities, all the different services, they got to be connected. They got to be being able to produce for you a predictable result month in and month out of how many leads are we getting per month into the business. So I think the first step, that's the first part of the business revenue equation, growth equation, is leads, 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 leads. Number two is then we have to move into appointments. And what we have to look at and analyze, what is our show up rate? This is where businesses quietly lose thousands, if not millions of dollars every single year because a lead comes in, but then nothing happens. There's no follow-up system in place. There's no appointment reminders. There's no confirmation of the appointment. There's no nurture throughout when the lead first comes in to when that appointment is set. There's nothing there to nurture that lead with, content, not an email, not information, not prepping them up for the meeting, not prepping them up for the appointment. And then ultimately they ghost you, there's no response, and that's when the lead disappears. And then you have no follow-up sequence in place to make sure that, hey, you didn't make your appointment, you didn't come for the consultation, there's nothing there to kind of incentivize them to come in for that appointment that you thought you had set, that was set in stone, but ended up falling by the wayside and just being a missed opportunity. And this is where here at Swing High Marketing, that's where our revenue capture system will come into play. That's where, you got to have an AI receptionist nowadays to be able to, when that lead first called, they'd be able to capture the information, the contact information, which you're able to identify what services, what treatments, what exactly were they looking for. Were you able to respond in real time so they didn't go ahead and call somebody else, maybe a competitor? Did you have anything automated when it came to an SMS message, thanking them for filling out the form or looking forward to seeing them on X date for their appointment or the consultation? Did you send any email reminders, any email automations or drip campaigns that you had in place? Did you do any type of follow-up campaigns, sharing content, prepping them, warming them up for that call, for that consultation, or for that appointment with you? So all this different things is the second part of the equation is, okay, we're generating leads. We got leads coming into the pipeline, but then, okay, what happens after that? What happens after they become a lead and they transition to a potential prospect? What are we doing between there? Because the goal isn't just to generate leads for you. The goal is to actually getting those leads to show up for their appointment, for the consultation. If you're a med spa, how many consultations actually happen from the leads that were generated? Roofing company, if you're in roofing, HVAC, home service company, how many actual inspections or estimates actually took place? Dental office, how many treatment consultations actually occurred? So the money isn't in the lead. The money is in getting the lead to show up. Because if you get them to show up, you already have to battle there from either they're going to buy from you or they're not going to buy from you. But if they don't even show up, then you're at 0% that they're actually going to buy from you because most of the businesses that I deal with, they involve some type of consultation or some type of, sales call, presentation, estimate. There's always something in the middle of that. They're just not going to buy something from you online. So the first part is that we got to see how many leads we're getting per month. Second is how many appointments are we getting and how many of the leads are actually showing up to their appointment. And then number three is about conversions and is about your closing rate. Because now that they showed up, can you convert them is the question. Can you get that sale? Can you negotiate? Can you overcome objections? Can you walk them through the process? Can you answer any of their questions that they may have? Because and this is where most business owners immediate blame the marketing department, the marketing team, the marketing agency, because us as marketers, we did our job. We brought you leads. Us in the marketing, marketing created opportunity. So now is where a sales department or sales process, a salesman is here to capture and convert the opportunity that the marketing generated. Because closing comes down to, having a presentation, having the right offer. Do they require some type of financing? Do they have trust with you? Have they seen reviews and case studies? Pertaining to what people said about you, or what was their feedback or their review on your business or your service. Did you have any follow-up in place? So after the appointment, you're able to follow up with them, to connect with them, to see exactly, where they stand. Do you actually have a sales process? Knowing exactly how you're driving them from just getting the information, here's a consultation, but then driving them down, the sales process to ensure that lead converts into an actual sale, a new client, a new customer for the business. Because marketing cannot close for you unless you're selling products online that we can just drive automatically to a landing page or a funnel, and then they can have a checkout page there, then great. But if you're just going to be trying to sell off maybe a gift certificate or like some type of discount promo for a package or whatever the case is. And, that's going to be online sales that will probably be easier for a conversion. But for the most part, like I said, it requires some type of sales call, presentation, consultation, you name it, in order to actually get that lead to convert into a patient or a client for the business. So marketing creates opportunities, and this is where sales creates revenue. So, marketing is doing its job in getting the leads. Now you need to have good sales skills, sales team, sales training in order to convert those opportunities into actual revenue for the business. So this is where we can diagnose the bottleneck. Now that I shared with you the three, areas, the three key metrics to look at, a part of the business revenue growth equation is most businesses don't know where they're stuck. So look for a scenario. Scenario one is take a look at a business. Let's say they generate 100 leads a month. They get 80 appointments from those leads, and they get 60 sales out of those 80 appointments. So there we see that everything is working good. They don't need more sales training there now for that particular case, since they're converting at a high rate. What they need is actually just fill the funnel, fill the pipeline with more leads, more opportunities, more conversations, more prospects, more people that need to hear about their services and their products. You can look at scenario B, where let's say we get 100 leads, then we got 30 appointments but 20 sales from the 30 appointments. So here we can see in scenario B is that they don't have a leads problem, because obviously they're still generating the same amount of leads. Right now, what we have is that we have a low show up rate. We have a show up problem. We have an appointment problem. We're generating a lot of leads into the funnel, but we're not getting those leads to actually get locked down to an actual appointment with us. This could be, maybe we got to go back and maybe analyze the quality of the leads, maybe see, are they in our area? Are they actually interested in our services? Or they just looky-loos, just kind of filling out a form and not knowing exactly what it is that we offer. We have to, that's why, again, having follow-up call, follow-up text, follow-up emails, a drip campaign, things in place to see if we can get them to interact with us, provide more information, provide more details, try to get more information out of that lead. But that's when we show you for example purposes. Scenario A, we had a lead problem because we need to generate more leads. In scenario B, we have a show-up problem because we weren't generating enough appointments, from the leads that we were generating. And then now scenario C, I want to show you is you get 100 leads, you get 80 appointments, but you only get 10 sales from those appointments. So there we can see we don't need more leads. What we need there is a better sales process. And this is why every business needs a scoreboard, because you can't fix what you don't measure. And whatever you're unwilling to confront and change, whatever you're unwilling to confront, you can't change. So, if we got to take a look at it, we got to have stats, we have to have metrics, we have to have analytics, we got to keep tracking what is working, what's not. So then we have this data. And then from the data, from the numbers, then we can adjust, we can optimize. So then we can then maximize the results that we want to get to. So, this is the most important lessons business owners need to understand. You show up rate. If we had to change one of those three scenarios, if we had to change one of the three metrics in the equation, which one do you think is the most important? Is it going to be the leads we get? Is it going to be the appointments that we get? Or is it going to be the conversions that we get? You can go ahead and just drop it there in the comments section if you guys are watching the playback. But what I want you guys to understand is that, yes, we have to work on each phase. We got to generate more leads. We got to create more opportunities and get more appointments. And we got to get more conversions. We got to get more sales. We got to get more clients. And each one of those three different phases have their own systems that we can create around it to be able to have it flow better, having to get better conversions, better numbers. But if you think about it like this, if you had to only focus on one of them, which one is unlimited and which ones are capped, which ones have a ceiling to it? If you look at it, your show up rate, if you get 100 leads and you get 100 of them show up, then great, you have 100% lead to appointment, lead to show up rate. But if you get 100% closing rate, then okay, you converted 100 of the leads that actually showed up to the appointment. You got 100% of people to show up from the actual, leads or marketing that you generated. So what I want you to understand is that your show up rate, you can work on as much as you want with automations, with reminders, with confirmations, and you can get to 100%. Your closing rate, your conversions can get to 100% because you worked on your sales training, your sales skills, you're being able to overcome objections, rebuttals, you're able to, get them back into the sales process, you have a better offer, you're able to provide financing. So that's all great. That's all fine and dandy. But if you had to only pick one, the main one you got to focus on is lead generation. It's on the leads. Why? Because there's no ceiling to the amount of leads you can get per month. Sure, there may be a limit of how many leads you can work per month, but then that would just mean that you've got to hire more sales reps. You got to build a sales team. You got to build a sales department within your organization, within your business. But again, we have our AI receptionist that can take up to 100 calls at a single time to be able to capture the volume of leads that are coming in. This is why every solution I share with you has multiple facets, has multiple purposes that then you can use in your business. So this is key. So with lead generation, if you had to pick one, is it leads, is it appointments, or is it conversions? The main one that you got to focus on and you got to double down and you got to spend the most time on is on lead generation, because there's no ceiling to amount of leads you can get per month. It's unlimited. There's no cap. There's no limit. You can always create more opportunities, create more conversations, create more opportunities in the marketplace. This is why visibility matters, and this is why marketing matters. This is why advertising matters. This is why all these different things is there for you, that way you guys can create opportunities, because opportunities create options and options create growth. So the only metric without a ceiling is lead volume. We got to increase the number of leads. We got to increase the number of calls that are coming into the business every single month, month in and month out. So this is why this is crucial. This is important for the equation, is to understand that leads require marketing and advertising. It requires investing into the business, into your online presence, into your online positioning, into your content, into the ads that you're running, the quality of the ads, the process behind that, the landing page, the funnels, the email drip campaigns, the sequences, responding to leads in real time, not calling leads 2 to 3 days after that lead was generated. All this requires you to be able to be found online where your potential clients and patients are searching for. You've got to be visible online. You got to create omnipresence so that you're everywhere and anywhere at all times. So once you have that, then okay, then we can move into appointments. Appointments require them getting answered and responded in fast response time. They require that you reach out, you contact them, you follow up, you stay in communication with them, you have automation set up, a follow-up system, you're nurturing them along the process, you're being able to then send reminders and actually, tie downs and confirmations of said appointment. And then sales require, again, sales skills, your sales process, having a presentation, an offer, building up trust, building up value, and then of course, and depending on what it is that you're selling, having maybe some type of financing in place to overcome any type of, money objections that your potential prospect lead may have. So all these different bottlenecks that you may experience in your business, all of them have different solutions that we can provide for you to help solve them. And together, they all create a revenue growth system. You get leads, you get appointments, and you get actual conversions. Once you have that system dialed in, then that's what creates growth in revenue for your business. This is the complete revenue growth system, how we turn leads into appointments and appointments into actual revenue for your business. So every business owner wants more revenue, but revenue is simply the result of those three numbers: leads, appointments, and conversions. And then if you need help to find the bottleneck, once we can find the bottleneck, then we can fix the bottleneck. And then once we fix it, then that's when we can double down and we can actually scale the bottleneck, whether it is, generating more leads, is it getting more appointments, or is it actually getting more conversions and more sales? So we have to keep our eyes on those three metrics, those three numbers, and that's how we're going to see true growth of revenue in our businesses. Because the businesses that win aren't guessing, they aren't trying to, shoot at the hip and see what sticks. They're measuring the three numbers that actually drive growth. Because business growth isn't magic, it's math. It's if you do the math, it guarantees the path. So you have to be able to, as I said in previous episodes, know your numbers. Because once you know your numbers, you know exactly where it is that we are leaking revenue, we have bottlenecks we got to fix and address. So those are the main things we got to focus in on to really understand what is that's prohibiting growth in our businesses. So again, we need leads, we need appointments, we need conversions. Of the three, the main one that matters the most is lead generation. That's why we'll be actively marketing, advertising, putting ourselves out there, putting content, being able to drive traffic, get attention, capture intent, and create demand. So our businesses can get the amount of lead volume that we need for us to then enter into appointments and actual sales conversions into our businesses. So if you need help with any to identify which bottleneck your business is facing, then I advise you to go ahead and comment the word below strategy. We can go ahead and jump on a discovery call strategy session in order to kind of diagnose and look at your business, see where you're at, see what you're generating, see what it is that you have working for you, what's not working. We will be happy to provide you guys a free online presence report or an SEO audit report that we can test and see how is that you're actually positioned online. How's the strength of your website? How's the strength, of your online presence? Are you ranking for the keywords, on the key platforms that your business has to be on that your patients are actually searching for? Are you creating content? Are you being seen? Are you being visible? in the online space? Are you losing out to competitors? Whatever it is, we can gauge it, we can diagnose it. As long as we can provide the diagnostic we can then take and then be able to then create the marketing strategy for us to be able to, fix those bottlenecks and fix those errors that we need, those areas that we got to work on. So if you guys want to have the report, go ahead and just jump on a strategy session for us to kind of diagnose, dissect, and take a deeper look into your business to see exactly what it is that we can do to help you guys grow and drive revenue growth to your businesses and help you guys be able to grow, scale, build, and be able to expand. So this was thank you for spending the time with me. Exciting episode here now about Marketing Mondays, being able to dive into, the key numbers, the three numbers, that drives revenue growth. As long as you're the business owner, you can track it, you can measure it, then we can go ahead and be able to improve it month in and month out. We can optimize when you got to optimize so we can maximize the results that we're generating for you. So those three numbers are the three numbers that control your business revenue growth is leads, appointments, and conversions. And if anything else I can do for you guys, please let me know. But I'll see you guys on the next episode. Make sure you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and make sure you guys comment down below so I can know where you guys are tuning in from, what business you have, and what it is I can do to help you. But make sure you guys stay locked in. Hit the subscribe button. I'll be dropping weekly content on here. So make sure you guys stay locked in. And I'll see you guys on the next episode of Marketing Mondays.